Hey everybody, Speed Duel Bro here, and I'm finally back with a deck profile video, and I'm very excited to present this deck profile because one, this is the first deck on my channel that will showcase cards from the GX era, and two, it's a personal favorite of mine instantly. So let's get right to it. I call this deck Raging Mrs. Nice MAI. So for the skill card, we've got No More Mrs. Nice MAI, monster lineup, 3 UFO turtles, and 3 Raging Flame sprites, the star of the deck. As for spells, we've got 3 creature swap and 2 hammer shots. On the traps, 3 floodgate trap holes, 3 wabakus, and 3 Zoma the Spirits. How to win / strategies. Now before I show y'all how to win with the deck, let's review these 3 cards, starting with No More Mrs. Nice MAI. It reads, once per turn, when your monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, destroy 1 spell or trap on the field. Raging Flame Sprite. This card can attack directly. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, it gains 1000 attack. And UFO Turtle. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 fire monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in attack position. So basically the giant rat for fire monsters. Now that we've reviewed these 3 cards, I'll show you how to win with the deck. Alright, so the name of the game is Raging Flame Sprite. We intend to attack directly with it every turn because it gets stronger by 1000 with each direct attack. And when we mix that in tandem with No More Mrs. Nice MAI, oh my goodness, we are going to be destroying the opponent's spell and trap cards, hence their back row, for days. So with Raging Flame Sprite alone, we're applying so much offensive pressure on the opponent because we're forcing them to activate their cards in an untimely manner. And the reason why I say untimely manner is because every deck has a game plan, and every deck knows when and where to activate certain cards so that they can have the most advantage, right? But this is what Raging Flame Sprite is saying to the opponent. You better do something about me now, or else I'm finishing you off in 3 to 4 turns. So we're really putting our opponent at such a disadvantage because again, if Raging Flame Sprite's attack goes through, the opponent is going to lose a back row. But even then, if Raging Flame Sprite's attack does not go through, we force the opponent to activate their cards in an untimely manner. So let's say we get Book of Moon or Offerings to the Doomed or anything. But at that point, Raging Flame Sprite has accomplished its objective, which is disrupting the opponent. And let's make things worse for the opponent, okay? So in order for Raging Flame Sprite to go about its business, we're gonna protect the little guy with these 2 cards, Floodgate Trap Hole and Wabaku. So the reason why I chose Floodgate Trap Hole is because have you ever experienced being floodgated like this? You know, you summon your monsters and then your opponent activates Floodgate Trap Hole. And now your monsters are basically useless and your field is clogged up. And the worst part about it is the monsters stay like that for the entirety of the duel. So the only real way to get rid of these monsters is to tribute them. But sometimes our deck doesn't have tribute monsters, right? So basically, we've clogged up the opponent's field at that point. And Raging Flame Sprite is able to attack freely. And just imagine if you were able to Floodgate Trap Hole all of your opponent's monsters on the field. Victory is pretty much ours at that point. And the reason why I chose Wabaku is because 1, it's highly chainable, so if we get Breakered or Cosmic Cycloned, we can at least guarantee our Raging Flame Sprite's protection from battle. And yes, I know Night Beam is a thing, but Night Beam is Night Beam. There's nothing we can do about that. And also, the reason why I said we only need 3 to 4 turns to win the duel is because we have Zoma to help apply that pressure too. Because Zoma has that 1800 attack, and if we can get our opponent within the 2000 life point range, victory is well within sight. Because if the opponent has a strong monster and their life points are fairly low, oh, we're crashing Zoma right into that. But we're not done yet, fam. I've got another power play to show ya, or another strategy. So let's say we run into this situation. The opponent has more monster than us, all we've got is UFO Turtle. Well, that's what Hammer Shot is for, to help us facilitate our offensive coordination. And then we proceed to activate Creature Swap and win from there. There you go. Or we can also Zoma and Creature Swap. That's a thing. So yeah, fam, that's how you win with the deck. Card analysis. When I saw the skill card No More Misses Nice MAI, I always thought it was a solid skill. I just didn't know how to go about it though. Like, was there a method to make this skill a surefire thing? But then, when I saw Raging Flame Sprite, I already knew that these two would be a perfect pair. So let's look at Raging Flame Sprite. It is the star of the deck, and because of its effect, it inspired me to create this whole deck. And I'm very happy with how this deck turned out, because again, for me, Raging Flame Sprite's effect is so game-changing. To be able to disrupt the opponent's game flow or game plan, and to force the opponent to activate their cards in an untimely manner, because Raging Flame Sprite says, if you don't do something about me, I'm going to finish you off in 3 to 4 turns. And I know this is probably obvious, but remember fam, the reason why I say 3 to 4 turns is because with each successful direct attack, Raging Flame Sprite's attack increases by 1000. So yeah, Raging Flame Sprite for MVP. And then UFO Turtle, because it's a natural fit for the deck. It helps us get to Raging Flame Sprite sooner rather than later. Or we can go defensively, because UFO Turtle can also stall and protect our life points. Because you know, it brings out another one. Basically the giant rat for fire monsters. And then also, we can apply offensive pressure because UFO Turtle and Creature Swap is also a very nice power play. Hence why Creature Swap is in the deck. Not only do we get to take the opponent's monster, Creature Swap will also help us get to Raging Flame Sprite once UFO Turtle is destroyed. You see? It really is all about Raging Flame Sprite. Now on to Hammer Shot. Again, it does 2 things. One is that it destroys any troublesome monster on the field that may be too much for us to handle at the moment. And 2, Hammer Shot helps us facilitate our offensive coordination. As shown earlier in the how to win/strategies part of the video, the opponent had 2 monsters, 2 strong monsters, and we Hammer Shotted one of them, and then we proceeded to Creature Swap and UFO Turtle the opponent. So yeah, that's why Hammer Shot is in the deck, to help facilitate our offense. Now on to Floodgate Trap Hole, which helps us achieve our win condition, which is it allows Raging Flame Sprite to attack freely because Floodgate Trap Hole puts the opponent's monsters permanently in face down defense position. And the fact that if the opponent has no tribute monsters to sacrifice their own floodgated trap hold monster, oh, the opponent's monster field, it's gonna clog up and they simply can't do anything about it. And then Wabaku, because it's the most highly chainable trap card that will ensure our Raging Flame Sprite's safety, at least from the battle aspect. And then last but not least, Zoma the Spirit. Zoma for this deck also helps us apply tremendous pressure on the opponent, because not only does it have offensive purposes, which is the 1800 attack, but as mentioned earlier, if we can bring our opponent's life points down to the 2000 area, victory is very well within sight, because what we can do is if we can crash the Zoma if need be into the opponent's strong monster, or we can Zoma and Creature Swap. And I'm pretty sure, fam, we all know how good Zoma is at this point of the game, right? You can attack with it, you can stall, defend with it, you can even tribute it. This Zoma is just that good. So where does this deck rank on the power scale? In my humble opinion, this deck is competitive. Yes, you've heard me say it. For the first time ever, I think one of my decks is competitive. Aside from it being my personal favorite, and again, it's my humble opinion, but hear me out why I think this deck has a competitive potential. It's because the moment we play Raging Flame Sprite, the clock is ticking for the opponent. You know, not only does the opponent have to deal with an ever-growing, stronger monster, but they're going to lose spell and trap cards in the process. So really, Raging Flame Sprite is telling the opponent, as mentioned earlier, you better deal with me now, because if you don't, I'm finishing you off in 3 to 4 turns. So to be able to put the opponent in such a state like that, that's what we call disrupting the opponent. It's like we're ruining everything for the opponent because we're forcing them to activate the cards sooner rather than later, sooner than they had hoped, or sooner than they had planned to activate certain cards. That's what's key with Raging Flame Sprite. You know, aside from obviously wanting to have each direct attack being successful, but the fact that we're forcing the opponent to activate cards in an untimely manner is what makes this deck so lethal. And that's quite a pressure to apply on the opponent. And also, what's nice about this deck is that it's not exactly a one-trick pony. You know, we don't completely pin everything on Raging Flame Sprite as much as we want to, because we actually have plays here. We have crafty and tricky ways to deal with the opponent's board. UFO Turtle, Creature Swap, Hammer Shot, Floodgate Trap Hole, and Zoma. All of these contribute to putting the opponent at such a disadvantage. We intend to disrupt the opponent at every angle with this deck. Hence my belief as to why this deck, in my humble opinion, is competitive. So yeah fam, that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed. Give it a try. You'll see what I mean when you start playtesting with it, and obviously side accordingly to your matchups. But yeah, for the first time ever on my channel, I finally created a competitive deck. I'm very happy with how this deck turned out. I'm very proud of the results I turned up with, and I just thought I'd share it with you all because you're my fam. And with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button. Helps me out a lot and lets me know that you enjoyed. And if you haven't already subscribed, you're more than welcome to subscribe, because 2 things. 1, I always play to win, and 2, if you love speed duels, I'm sure you'll love me too. Your speed duel bro. So yeah fam, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.